welcome to another episode of 15-Minute Masterpieces. I'm Lisa Magyar with Creative Arts Enid, and today my concept is we're going to use leftover paint. So we're using acrylic. As long as you keep them moist and covered, they will last a couple of days. They won't last weeks or months, but they'll last a couple of days. So I am actually working on a large foam core board today. As always, when we're working with acrylics, especially that have been sitting out, you want to spritz them with a little water just to keep that moisture in there. Wet your brush a little bit, and we always pull from the edge there. So this is one of my favorite things to do, and if you ever come to our studio, you'll see a lot of really big pieces. And this is how I make them. I use leftover paint because we don't want to waste it. And I have another artist friend that calls it fiscal responsibility. Otherwise, we are just throwing away a ton of paint. Anytime we have parties or painting classes, there's always leftover paint. So why waste it? Let's just turn it into art. And this is kind of my abstract. I don't really have rhyme or reason. I am, however, limited to the colors that I have in front of me. So that's kind of fun too, to get yourself outside of the box. And maybe you're gonna paint a lake or something, but you don't have blue, so you gotta improvise and use different colors. Or your tree is purple because you don't have green. And that's where the abstract comes in. I put a little bit more color on here. Kind of dig in this fluorescent pink color. That brush rinsed out pretty good. Oops. No worries, I got more paper towels. So I know this is going to run for a while, but it is almost Valentine's Day. So apparently I'm thinking hearts. But we'll see how this comes together. I also like working with the paint while it's wet, and sometimes on the mat boards you get a little bit more flow with your paint. It doesn't cover as well necessarily, which is also why you layer, but sometimes you can play with it a little bit more and it'll blend right on the canvas. So I also like working on the board because then I don't feel like I have to cover the entire board with paint. I can just keep adding shapes and colors, and eventually it will turn into something. So rinse out and see what we've got in another one of these palettes. And we'll give it a little spritz. So it looks like I am doing a vase of sorts. With some crazy colors, but that's what's fun too, is just kind of playing with what you got. I don't have green, so I'm going to mix my yellow with my blue there. And just have fun with that. I'm going into the other side of my yellow. And we'll just add some fun yellow background colors here. If it mixes, that's okay. Kind of adds to it. I'm going to switch from that brush to a round brush. That was a filbert. It's not doing dots very well for me. Oh, that one's too small. Sorry. Let's go with the bigger one. Some big brush, big job, little brush, little job. There we go. So anybody who has worked flowers, you need like some filler here and there, which are usually little tiny rounded greeneries. And I'll get those tied together here in a minute. So this apparently is a really bright painting. We have lots of bright colors on our palette. So that sometimes is the downside to using up the leftover paint. Sometimes it's not colors that you would necessarily put together very often. Clean that up. Let's see what else we have. Ooh, this one has some red on it. So we use this one. We also have our pinks and our gray. Actually kind of clean that up a little bit. And add some of that pink into those like heart flowers. And step back, check it out, see if you like where it's going. If not, then it's too late on this. And we just keep going. Actually, it's not too late. All we do is just wipe it all out with the big brush and new color. I do that a lot too when I'm painting these big leftovers, don't waste the paint type paintings, because I want to use up the paint. And so sometimes just by throwing it on there and kind of playing with the paint and not liking it and doing it over again, you come up with something completely different that maybe you really love in the end. Excuse me. I'm going to come in with some of this red and kind of create some swirly, flowery things. And let it mix with some of these other colors. It's really like that kind of loose hold on the paintbrush while you do that. And letting them mix. Looking to get arty in Enid, Oklahoma? Join us at Creative Arts Enid, 222 East Maple. And just by kind of having all that paint on my brush, I've already just kind of mixed the colors on there, got a little highlight without having to do anything extra. Rinse our brush. And I think we need to go back to our greens here. Mixing our blue with our yellow that we have. A nice electric green there. Kind of tie all these little things together. I'm just kind of playing with the colors and see what I can come up with, different shades of this electric green. I'm going to tone that down with some gray. I'm just twirling my brush to get it out of my brush there to the very end. And put some big greenery leaves on these rosy type flowers. So there it looks like we have a vase of wackadoo flowers, okay? So if I had more time, I would probably just keep kind of playing with it and mixing my colors and adding into it some more. I kind of like where it's going, so I will continue to work on this, and you guys join us next week for another installment of 15-Minute Masterpieces. Thank you so much.